Welcome back to the At the Helm podcast, where we steer through everything from sports to superheroes. I am your host, Blake Helms. Today, I'm going to be ranking my top 10 NFL teams going into the Sunday of Week 14 this season. So that means instead of like a lot of power rankings, whether it's by the official NFL, ESPN, People's Personal, I am actually taking this last Thursday game into account, especially because it did have a major impact on who was going to actually make this ranking. With that being said, my number 10 NFL team at this point in the season, maybe a little biased, but I'm going with the Detroit Lions to be the number 10 team. They're 7-5 right now. They're just out of the playoffs and third place in their own division. So I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't have them this high. But I think, and maybe this is just me being biased as a Lions fan, but they definitely have a path that will take them to the playoffs, with given how hard the Bears-Packers schedule are throughout the year, especially that they have to play each other twice. And the Niners do have a couple tough games that could give the Lions the edge over them. Now, I said earlier that the Thursday night game had a huge impact on this. Yeah, I literally told a person that if the Lions win, they're number 10. If they lose, they're out. The Niners would have been this. But not only did they win, they won in pretty emphatic fashion, scoring 44 points and beating Dallas 44-30 after unfortunate loss to the Packers on Thanksgiving. And yeah, that's the thing about the Detroit Lions. You go back 3 years, the Lions haven't lost back-to-back games. Has 15 bounce-back wins in a row for the Detroit Lions. And that is a very valuable skill because, momentum is a real thing in the NFL. It's really easy for a team to, after they lose a game, to lose the next one. And then that continues. And then you have just a bunch of losses in a tight-knit part of your schedule. Granted, the Lions have been lately, pretty much the last month has been win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. But at the end of the day, they do have a slightly easier path than some of their other teams that they're competing with. Granted, it's not easy. They play the Rams in their next game, and then they play the Steelers, and they play the Vikings, and then the Bears. So maybe I shouldn't say easy. It is a very difficult schedule, but I will definitely say Steelers and Vikings are two very winnable games. Granted, Lions did lose to the Vikings earlier this year, but I'm going to say with the way JJ's played since that game, the Lions should be able to beat them. But then also, yeah, the Steelers, they're not looking very good. Rodgers is an X factor. He's a good player, but that Steelers defense right now, aside from a TJ Watt resurgence late, they probably won't be able to stop a Lions offense where Jahmyr Gibbs is, if you can stop him in the run game like the Cowboys did, he's just going to beat you in the receiving game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, sprained ankle, don't matter. That man is crazy. The sun god destroys all in his path. And Jameson Williams has looked really good since Dan Campbell has taken over the play calling. That I think those two wins can be expected. And then you have the two iffy ones. The Rams, that's a tough win for anybody, but they are vulnerable. The Panthers did beat them. The game is in Los Angeles, which does favor the Rams over the Lions, but the Rams don't exactly have the best home field advantage kind of thing. I mean, whenever they play San Francisco at LA, it's basically a home game for San Francisco. And the Lions-Rams the last couple of years has been a marquee matchup that the Lions have had the edge over them. Granted, every year is different. The Rams are arguably the best team in the league this year. If I had done this like I planned before Thanksgiving break, they would have been number one on this list. A little spoiler, but yeah, they're not number one. And the Bears, they're a very different team than the first time the Lions and Bears met. But at the end of the day, you can't exactly ignore the result of the last game. I mean, it'd be one thing if the Lions had squeaked by, but they beat them by 30. They put 50 on them. That's a very big thing to do. Granted, injuries have happened. Brian Branch tore his Achilles the other night. He's out for the season, which sucks, especially since Kirby's been out. I think Kirby's been just dealing with that injury, and it's like, it's not like he's on IR or anything. He's just listed as out every week, and at this point, I don't know if he's coming back this season. They've also lost Terrion Arnold and Sam Laporta for the year. We know that. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I got my hopes up that Frank Ragnow was coming out of retirement, that the line was going to at least get better. But then apparently that man is so tough that he thought the thing that was just slightly hurting him in this hamstring was a grade 3 strain, which from what I hear is basically he's torn his hamstring off the bone. I could be wrong. I could be over-exaggerating that, but yeah, that man's pain tolerance is just out of this world, which, I've been following him for a while now. I knew that already. But yeah, like the Lions, they're not what they were last year or probably even the year before, but you got to take into account how difficult their schedule has been this year. They have arguably the hardest schedule in the NFL, and the entire North does, because the North was a really good division last year, and, that's 3 really good teams and the Vikings. But also, they have to play a lot of those first-place teams along with it, like the Chiefs, like the Rams, like the Bucks. That's it's a difficult schedule along with all those division games. And, yeah, the Packers are clearly the better team, at least as of now this season, unless the Lions are able to, get farther in the postseason, and which it's a question. We don't know if the Lions are going to make the postseason this year. If the Niners win out, no, they're not going to be a wild card team. And the only other way they can get in is depending on what happens between the Packers and the Bears. But yeah, like I said earlier, they're 8th in the playoffs right now. They're not currently in it. They're 3rd in their division, which, granted, it's a really good division. 7-5 is a pretty good record that would be at least tied for a lot of other division leads. They have a few good wins this season. They've beaten the Bears. They've beaten the Ravens with Lamar Jackson when he was before injury, so he was he's still playing like Lamar. And they beat Tampa Bay with a depleted secondary. But yeah, they have lost to a lot of the tough teams they played this year, which is why the Rams game is it's not looking great for them in that game. After losses twice to the Packers, the Chiefs, who they do play tough. The record doesn't show they're a good team. They just aren't winning those one-score games. And then the Eagles, that was very defensive. Yeah, that Eagles defense just torched the Lions line, made them look terrible. But the Lions looked really good against a surging Cowboys team the other night, which is why I'm giving them this, and the fact that I'm a Lions fan and them not being in the top 10 at this point, when I thought they were. The question was whether or not they were going to be the division winner in the 1 seed, let alone making the playoffs. I can't deal with that at the moment. But Lions 10. Then number 9. I have the Buffalo Bills listed as 9. They're 8-4. They're currently 2nd in the AFC East, which they have owned the last 5 years. So that's that sucks for Bills fans. And they're currently the 7th seed in the AFC. So they're just on the cusp of the playoffs right now. They are barely hanging on at the moment. And both AFC and NFC races are really close this year because the season has just been chaos. The only thing we know is that the second a team looks really good, they're going to start to look bad. So Patriots, look out. And the Bills, they're a solid team. I doubt they're going to end up winning. I doubt they're going to catch the Patriots in the AFC East race, but I have no reason to think they won't make the playoffs. I mean, Josh Allen is still one of the best players on the planet. He recently broke the quarterback rushing touchdown record, which, unless they ban the tush push, Jalen Hurts is probably going to get in a few years over him. But They did look really good this last week. Granted, it was the Steelers who have been on a midseason collapse, but still, 26-7 is a good win against an NFL team that is quarterbacked by Aaron Rodgers, one of the all-time great passers in this sport. And James Cook is having a good season. And hey, the Bills, I mean, get them to the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. That's when the chips are down, and really just the skill of your players means so much rather than everything else. And the Bills do have a few good wins this season when Josh Allen plays like Josh Allen. By beating the Ravens in an amazing Sunday Night Football game that started the season. They beat the Chiefs, granted. How much does that mean anymore? They always beat the Chiefs in the regular season. But hey, if they make the playoffs, it's not looking like the Chiefs are going to be there this year. That's all I'm saying. And then they had a really good game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where Baker and Josh Allen were just going back and forth. But they do have some big losses. If they don't beat the Patriots in a couple weeks when they play, they're not going to win the division. The Patriots already beat them this year. And that is just huge for New England and, unfortunately, huge for Buffalo in the bad way because it means that they lose to the Patriots. The division, I think, is basically sealed. And then they had that poor loss where they just got obliterated by Miami Dolphins, of all teams, despite not losing to them in so long. And then a couple of weeks ago, Josh Allen almost died on Amazon Prime when the Texans just absolutely murdered him on Thursday Night Football. And man, that Texans defense is seriously good. Like, if they had an offensive line, that'd be they might be a dangerous team anyway. They're right on the cusp of the playoffs also right now. But yeah, the Bills, at the end of the day, they make this list because they are the Bills. And historically, the last few years, they have been a really good team. They have Josh Allen, who I've said this a few times already, but he is arguably the best football player on the planet. Arguably, I know. And I know there's a lot of people that will disagree. There's a lot of people that will agree very heavily because for some reason, people just absolutely love the guy for even more than his wife for some reason. Yeah, Josh Allen and the Bills are a really good team. They play the Bengals tomorrow, which with the return of Joe Burrow could be good. It is in Buffalo, so that does give them the edge. And hey, Bengals defense has not been good this season. They did do pretty well last week against Lamar and the Ravens, but how much stock can we take because Lamar's been playing with that injury? And the Bills they're tough to beat in Buffalo. And despite Joe Burrow's return, that line can get him killed. And Joey Bosa's had a solid season this year. I can see him getting to Burrow, or at least making his life a little difficult, coming off his turf toe injury, which, man, that's a silly name for a very bad injury I would not wish on anyone. But yeah, Bills, number 9. Number 8, you got the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are currently 8-4. They have recently lost their division lead. They're tied with the Jaguars, but I do think they are the better team. They're in a bit of a rough patch right now. They've kind of come back down to earth after the early season, and to no one's surprise, this coming back down to earth thing has happened when Jonathan Taylor's production has finally slowed down a little bit from the obvious MVP, but not going to win MVP because he's not a quarterback that he was doing the first 10 weeks of the season. And I think he's still up there in the MVP conversation, but as a running back, you don't get much room for error, so I doubt he's going to win it now. It's probably going to go to either Matthew Stafford or Drake May at this point. The Colts are coming off a loss, 16-20, to the Houston Texans, whose defense, like I said earlier when I was discussing their game against the Bills, is really good. Like, it is insane how good that defense is, despite their record not being great. And that loss made it so that the AFC South race is actually a race between three teams in the Texans, Jaguars, and Colts, which you said before the season, I think you're nuts, especially with the Colts, because who in the world saw Daniel Indiana Jones being this good? Also, what is it with Daniel Jones and having cool nicknames? Danny Dimes was already a pretty cool one, even if it wasn't always accurate. Indiana Jones, I mean, come on, that is a perfect nickname for a man playing in the state of Indiana. The Colts are currently the 6th seed in the AFC. They have the same record as the Bills at 8-4, but I guess with conference record and stuff, they are a little bit above them. And yeah, the Colts started off this season really hot. They were arguably the best team in the league through the first 6 games or so. And now, yeah, like I said, they've come back down to earth. You know, they're human again. Daniel Jones' production has slowed down. He's not playing as well. Jonathan Taylor, the second he looks human, you know, people are going to trash on him because people are fickle creatures who don't understand that people aren't machines. They don't always act perfectly, kind of like, which, you know, happens to every good NFL player. The second they look human, they are terrible. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, he does need to pick things up a little bit. You're allowed to have a down game or two in the NFL. It happens. People are human beings. They kind of run out of gas a little bit. But he really needs to recharge, especially this week. Tomorrow they play the Jacksonville Jaguars in a game that could easily decide who wins that division and gets a home field game in the wild card round of the playoffs. And even worse for Indianapolis, it's in Jacksonville. I don't believe they've won a game in Jacksonville in nearly a decade. It's been like since 2014-ish. You know, Andrew Luck Colts and like prime Andrew Luck when they were really good. Like it's been so long since they've done it. Jacksonville, the one year they won like 1-15, the Colts in Jacksonville was their one win. That is just not a situation where they have played well, despite how good they are or how bad the Jacksonville is or vice versa. I mean, it's a very bad game for them to be in this situation when they are in a bit of a slump. But if they are able to win this game, that is also a huge thing for them. They have wins this year over the Broncos, who I think they lost their next game, and then since then they've been undefeated. They're on like a 9-10 game win streak, and they have a win against the Chargers, who are also a playoff team at the moment. They are currently the 5th seed. I also believe at 8-4, but you know, I could be wrong there. But they do have some losses. Like I said, they lost to the Texans, who are now 7-5, and you know, right there in the division race. They lost a heartbreaker to the Rams earlier this year, which was kind of the game that just made everyone like, oh damn, they might actually be good this year. They're not just better than all the terrible teams. They're actually on the level of a Los Angeles Rams. And they did lose to the Chiefs a couple weeks ago in overtime because after a bad second half. And that was the game where Jonathan Taylor did kind of start to come back down to earth. And, you know, he finally didn't score 3 touchdowns. I mean, jeez. He was averaging 3 touchdown hat tricks every freaking week. But yeah, you know, they have some good weapons on offense along with Jonathan Taylor, like Jonathan Downs. But they do need to pick it up if they want to continue this. But for now, Colts, number 8. Number 7, the Green Bay Packers. They're 8-3-1. Damn it, Cowboys! Why can't you just beat them? Come on, I hate ties. We should end ties. Ties are stupid. But their last game is a Thanksgiving win, 31-24 over the Detroit Lions. Yay, good for them. But seriously, the Packers are a really good team this year. They've had some issues in that when they play teams that aren't on their level, they kind of stoop down to that team's level, like with their loss to the Browns. Hilarious, by the way. And other games, like they barely beat the Giants. They lost to the Panthers, who have started to look actually pretty good. They are in contention for the NFC South title, but still, they should not be beating the Green Bay Packers. Now the Packers. like I said, they had that embarrassing loss to the Browns. They also lost to the Eagles, who they're in a very defensive game. Still basically the exact same thing as what happened with the Lions the next week, just, some details different. But they do have a couple good wins. They've beaten the Lions twice, unfortunately. And the Steelers aren't great, but I did list them as a key win for the Packers, mostly because, it's Aaron Rodgers. They kept him from being one of the, four, or he would have been the fifth person to beat every team in the NFL. So I listed them as a good win for Green Bay. And yeah, Green Bay, they're a good team. Their defense is really good. Especially, it was going to be probably solid regardless. But man, the addition of Micah Parsons has just changed that defense entirely this season. I mean, he's just so good. I hate that he's on that team, but he's a game wrecker in the very sense of the word. The only defensive end who's probably better than him is Myles Garrett, and that's because Myles Garrett is, I don't know what, the Hulk. He's the Hulk who is just on a bad team because they paid him a lot of money. But yeah, Parsons is great. Love has become a good quarterback. He's not to the level of their other last two, but granted, that being an impossible act to follow. It's Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That's two insanely good quarterbacks. But he's starting to come into his own as a good quarterback. And unfortunately, something about Toyotathon gives that man unbelievable power. It's happened. This is the third year in a row. Second Toyotathon hits. He is great. But they have a major matchup this week in the Bears, which is in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. But what happened last time they played in Lambeau Field? Oh, yeah, the Packers lost. It was funny. But yeah, it's hard to say what's going to happen tomorrow because before last week, I would have said the Bears are good. They're not great because they're just beating a bunch of bad teams. After last week, when they beat the Eagles, a team that had beaten the Lions and the Packers, I have to say, they are a great team. And that's the thing. As a Lions fan, I don't know who to root for in this game because I hate the Packers with a burning passion. I hate them way more than I hate the Bears. But if the Bears lose twice to the Packers, we could jump them in the playoffs. So, we'll see. Could jump the Packers, maybe. That tie might screw us, but we'll see. Anyway, but yeah, the Packers are a good team. The return of Christian Watson has been huge, especially coming around the same time Tucker Kraft went down. And he's great. Donovan Wick just had a really good game against the Lions. We'll see if he can stay consistent. Matthew Golden is a solid receiver. I mean, basically that entire receiving core is full of solid guys who can make plays when you need them to. And you can have a different best receiver every week. Like last week it was Dontavian Wicks, but this week probably not. My money would be on Christian Watson. I feel like he's the most consistent guy they have. And Josh Jacobs is a really good running back. Like he is very, very solid. I was pretty proud that we had kind of kept him at least somewhat in check on Thanksgiving. But, Jordan Love looked really good against Lions secondary that is a little depleted and just not great right now. But, yeah, I hate it, but the Packers, number 7. Number 6, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions. They're currently 8-4, still in first place in the NFC East, and with the Cowboys' loss the other night to the Detroit Lions, it looks like that's not going to change. So they're almost a lock for the playoffs at this point. But I started noticing something interesting. The Eagles, when A.J. Brown was all doom and gloom and being a crybaby about not getting enough targets, the Eagles were 8-2. Then the last couple of weeks, A.J. Brown has started producing. They're 0-2. Coincidence? I think not. But the Eagles, yeah, that defense is still really good, but it has shown weakness in the last couple weeks against the Cowboys and the Bears. A 15-24 loss on Black Friday to the Chicago Bears in Philadelphia in a game that is what made everyone think the Bears are a good team. But, yeah, the Eagles, man, their defense is good, and people really hate on Kevin Patullo, their new OC. Rightfully so. He has done a poor job. But at some point, man, Nick Sirianni, you are the head coach. Why aren't you doing stuff? Why aren't you having a more say in the offense? Why do you rely so much on your coordinators? You have really good coordinators. The team does well. You have really bad corners. The team does really bad. Granted, that is true for a lot of teams, but sometimes you gotta, grow a pair and take control of your team. Like what Dan Campbell did this year. He didn't need to grow one, but still. He realized the offense wasn't doing great under John Morton as the play caller, so he took over. And it's been hit or miss a little bit, but two of the games that they should have won, they won because their offense was really productive. The Eagles need to take a similar approach. Nick Sirianni, get on that headset and start giving Jalen Hurts the calls. And also, Saquon Barkley has, in a common phrase I'm saying in this video, come back down to earth after being unbelievable last season. I don't know what the reason is, whether it's the defense doing a better job at getting to him, bringing him down, looking for him, focusing on him, because the offseason is a lot of time to do that kind of stuff. I don't know, maybe the line's just not as good. It probably isn't. Or if Saquon's just not playing as well after being run like a mule last season, getting all those touches. You need a lot of touches to get 2,000 yards. Or maybe it's the Madden curse. I don't know. But he's not injured, so it's better than a lot of people who went on the Madden cover. Just ask Christian McCaffrey. But yeah, the Eagles, they have some really nice wins this year. They beat the Lions, they beat the Packers, they beat the Bucks, and they beat the Chiefs. And they haven't lost too many games, but they have lost some games against teams that are going to end up being higher on them on this list, like the Broncos and the Bears. Now, I'm a guy that thinks Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, and I think Nick Sirianni is a good coach. I don't argue with results. If a team goes to the playoffs every year that a coach and quarterback have been together for that team, I think they're good. If a team goes to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years and wins one of them being the most recent one, I think they're good. Call me crazy. I think that makes sense. Granted, this year, they're not playing as well. They're not this unbelievable force that we kind of thought they would be. They're not this wood chipper that teams go through whenever they have to travel to Philadelphia. Granted, if the fans had a choice, that's probably what they would do to every opposing player because they're monsters. But at the end of the day, you got to win these games. You got to win against the good teams. A.J. Brown needs to just buck up and play well, be a team player. I don't care. If you are on a good team, you should be happy. What is wrong with you? Dear Lord. And Vic Fangio is a really good defensive coordinator. He needs to get that defense to be in a little bit more shape that they were against the Lions and the Packers than they were against the Bears and the Cowboys. They play the Chargers in Los Angeles. It's not an easy win. Justin Herbert, while apparently recently had surgery for a broken hand, is evidently going to play. I don't know. Man's tough. I don't know. Wants to impress his new girlfriend, maybe. I don't know. But that's a difficult win. Granted, with the Chargers O-line, I think people like Jalen Carter are going to get to Justin Herbert, and they're probably going to end up winning this game. But what do I know? I thought they were going to be the Cowboys and the Bears. But for now, number 6. Number 5. You got the number 1 seed in the NFC somehow, the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears are a very impressive team this year. I am very impressed with what they're doing, and I hate who the coach they're doing it with. Man, I wish Ben Johnson was still our offensive coordinator. But I digress. The Bears are 9-3. Very impressive record. Like I did say earlier, they have beaten up on a lot of bad teams, but that's what you got to do. If you don't beat the bad teams, you're bad. And they've beaten the bad teams. And after their win against the Eagles, I can say they can be good teams. Will that translate to this next, where they play the Packers, I think in 2 times in the next 3 weeks? We'll see. Tomorrow will be is a huge test, not only because the Packers are a good team, not only because the Packers are a division rival who are their biggest threat in possibly winning the NFC North. I say this simply because the Packers have owned the Bears for the better part of the last 30 years. Granted, they've owned the division in general for the better part of the last 30 years, but the Bears especially. And it went up a notch entirely with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, he literally says it. He owned the Bears. And Jordan Love kind of took up that ownership for the most part. But then they did beat them last year. And you can say whatever you want. Jordan Love got hurt during the game. Christian Watson tore his ACL. That you still were trying your best, and the results was the Bears won. Will that carry over this year? I don't know. This is a tough game to call. Caleb Williams is undefeated in Lambeau, believe it or not. That is an actual fact. 1-0 is still undefeated. But yeah, the Bears, Ben Johnson has done an amazing job. I hate to say it. He's done incredibly well. They are a year or 2, probably 3 years ahead of schedule, really, to be this good. I mean, this just doesn't happen. And, shockingly, improving your O-line improves your team. The Bears had arguably the worst O-line in the NFL last year. Caleb Williams got sacked near a record amount. I think it was a record amount for a rookie. And he didn't look great. This year, their line is improved. It's not the best in the league by any means, but it's a lot better. And Caleb Williams has taken steps into becoming a good quarterback in the NFL. We'll see how he does over the next few weeks and in the playoffs, assuming they make it, which I think they probably will, but you never know. They got 3 games against high-level division opponents left, not to mention a couple of their other games left that are probably going to be tough, like San Francisco. But we'll see. If they can go through this next stretch and win, just have a winning record going into the playoffs, they probably won't get the 1 seed, that because of all those tough games that are left. But they'll at least get a home game in the first round, which if you're a Bears fan, you're playing with house money at that point. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to go far, but if I was a Bears fan, I'd just be happy to at least be there year 1 into what was supposed to be a major rebuild under Ben Johnson. And I don't know, maybe Ben Johnson's just the best coach in the world outside of Dan Campbell and Andy Reid, who knows. But the Bears have been really impressive, and right now they're number 5. Would be higher if they had more high-caliber wins, but if they beat the Packers, they will most likely move up. Number 4, I put the Seattle Seahawks. They're second place in the NFC West by only a tiebreaker because the Rams beat them earlier this year. They're 9-3. They're doing really good. They're coming off a dominant defensive win, 26-0 over Minnesota, which Minnesota's not great this year. They didn't even have J.J. McCarthy, and apparently their backup's even worse than 9. But, hey, that defense, Mike McDonald does a really good job, the defense. And Sam Darnold, he's had a rough couple of weeks. He hasn't played amazing. He had that 4-interception game against the Rams. But earlier this year, he was an MVP candidate. At one point, I think he was leading the MVP race. And then I think that 4-interception game kind of kicked him out of it. But he has done really well. It was clearly not just Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. He has become a good quarterback in the NFL. Shocking what not being a Jet does to your career. But yeah, the Seahawks, they're good even outside of JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, for you uninitiated in the NFL. Oh my goodness, he is probably the best receiver in the NFL this year. He's having a tremendous year that I don't think anyone saw him being the best receiver at this point. You had your Jeffersons, your Chases, your St. Browns, your CeeDee Lambs, your Puka Nakuas, who maybe if he didn't get injured or was sharing some of those targets, in touchdowns with Devontae. But regardless, JSN, man, he and Darnold have become a really good connection. And with DK Metcalf gone, he has just taken that next step to being a truly elite receiver in this league. Yeah, the Seahawks this season, like I mentioned earlier, they lost to the Rams. They've also lost to the Niners this year, and they lost to the Buccaneers in what was a really good game. I really enjoyed watching what I saw of that one. The uniforms alone just made that game really fun to watch. But yeah, they all do have a couple losses against teams like the Jaguars and the Texans, who are battling for the AFC South this year. But the Seahawks are currently the 5 seed in the NFC playoffs, and they play the Falcons tomorrow, which is a game they definitely should win. Kirk Cousins, after seeing what that defense did last week to your old team and the Vikings, you might want to look out and wear a little extra padding this week. But the Seahawks are a really good team. I believe they still have a matchup with the Rams this year, which is going to be maybe the decider on who ends up winning that division. But yeah, the Seahawks are they're really good. Their defense is playing phenomenal. Lawrence is having a great year. And I think they have a chance to go far in the playoffs, especially if they end up winning their division and possibly even the 1 seed. So Seahawks, number 4. Number 3, you got the Denver Broncos. Who would have thought? Denver Broncos are leading the AFC West going into Week 14 at 10-2, and they haven't lost since Week 3? Wow. In spite of an offense that hasn't looked very good. But that defense, like everyone thought, is a top defense in the NFL. They have done a fantastic job doing that with that defense, and they're able to pick up some slack when the offense doesn't play great in the first 3 quarters, and then for some reason just locks in during the 4th. Bo Nix, he is not the best quarterback in the league, but he has become one of, if not the most clutch for this season, especially. When they need it, he gets it done. They need to score 33 points in the 4th quarter, something that's never been done before. They do it. And they're coming off a game that, who would have thought this would have been such a banger at this point in the season? The Broncos versus the Marcus Mariota-led Washington Commanders put on a show last week on Sunday Night Football, going to overtime, and I personally think Washington made the right decision in going for 2. You got to go for the win there because ties suck. But, it just didn't work out. That Nick Bonito made a great play at the end of that game. He's having one hell of a year. They've got the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in that secondary, and Pat Surtain, which basically cuts off half the field when you play them, unless you have a really good receiver. Even then, it still happens. RJ Harvey has done a good job picking up the slack from J.K. Dobbins' injury when he was having a really good start season before he got hurt. And Courtland Sutton's a good receiver. There's a good team that just finds ways to win. And that's what you got to do in the NFL. Will that last them the entire season once they're playing the teams like the Bills and the Patriots? I don't know. But I do know that they beat the Eagles this year. So got to give them credit for that. And they did recently beat the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, a team that has kind of owned them and that entire division for the last decade. But yeah, the Broncos, they haven't lost in a while, but they did lose to the Colts and they lost to the Chargers earlier this year. So if they lose to the Chargers again, their division lead is in serious jeopardy. But cross that bridge when we come to it. This week, they're at Vegas for the Raiders. I have no reason to believe they should lose this game. This may be finally the game where they absolutely destroy a team, but maybe they'll play down to their level. I don't know. But regardless, that it would probably be because of their offense, because I don't think the Geno Smith-led Vegas Raiders are going to be able to do anything against that just monster defensive unit that Denver has put together. But yeah, Denver, it's going to be hard for them not to win the AFC West at this point, and they are in contention for that 1 seed. I think, yeah, if they win this week, them and the Patriots will be tied, which, are we in 2014 or something this year? I mean, The Patriots and the Broncos battling for the 1 seed in the AFC. You'd expect their quarterbacks to be, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Nope, it's Bo Nix and Drake May in their second year, who, maybe we're in for the second coming of the Brady-Manning rivalry. Who knows? We'll see if they play each other in the playoffs in the AFC Championship. Could happen. We'll see. But the Broncos, number 3. Number 2, you can probably guess, considering I said they weren't number 1. You got the Los Angeles Rams, who, man, up until that Panthers loss last week, they were probably easily the best team in the league, looking like it. Matthew Stafford, I still think he should win it. MVP. It's about damn time he won that thing and gets the respect he deserves. But they're 9-3. They are coming off a 28-31 loss against the Carolina Panthers. Like I said, look solid, but that's not a team you want to be losing to. Well, you don't want to lose to anyone, but But this season, would I rather lose to the Panthers or the Patriots? Probably go Panthers. But yeah, the Rams are currently in a tie with the Seahawks for that division lead, and since the Rams are currently tied for that division lead with the Seahawks at 9-3 in the NFC West, and since they beat the Seahawks a few weeks ago, they currently have it. This week, the Rams are at the Cardinals, which the Cardinals are just the definition of mid. They will be mid until they do something about that quarterback situation. I have no reason to think that Jacoby Brissett-led Cardinals are going to beat the Rams, but like I said earlier, this season is pure chaos, so what do I know? But I do think the Rams have a good defense. Their pass rush is scary with people like Jared Verse coming at you. When they just absolutely destroyed the Bucs last week in what I thought was going to be a really good game, that kind of just solidified how dominant they are. Matthew Stafford throwing to Puka Nacua for all the yards and Davante Adams for all the touchdowns. I mean, who needs a goal line running back when you just throw the ball on a fade to Davante Adams on the 1-yard line every time? And it works because his route running is incredible. So why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? All respect in the world of how good Kyren Williams is, but Davante Adams is Davante Adams. Even still, to this day, he is still that threat. Regardless of where the field is, he is a threat. Puka's just kind of better with the space. And Stafford likes him. Stafford plays favorites. It's known. But when you have receivers that he's had in his career, like Megatron, Cooper Kupp, now Puka, and Davante, you're allowed to play favorites with those guys. But yeah, the Rams, they beat the Colts this year. They beat the Seahawks a couple weeks ago. And like I said, they beat the Bucs right after that, really. And so they are looking really good. Unfortunately, they do have losses they do have a loss to the Eagles this year off that blocked field goal the week that everybody was blocking field goals for whatever reason. And they did lose to the 49ers, which in a division race that's tight, being 1-1 with a division rival isn't great because then you have to rely on other stuff besides head-to-head contests. But they're currently winning their division. They're currently the 2nd seed in the NFC. For the most part, they do control their own destiny. So the Rams, number 2. And then there was 1. Number 1. The New England Patriots. The Empire has returned. All is lost. The world is full of darkness. What is happening? But seriously, the Patriots, who, man, they suffered 5 years of not being good and being in the Super Bowl. How could they deal with it? But yeah, they're 11-2. They're on a bye this week, which, yeah, if I'm 11-2 after having to play 13 straight football games without a break, I'd feel pretty damn good about myself. And now that I get a break to prepare for probably my biggest test of the year when we play the Bills again, I'd feel even better about myself. But yeah, they're coming off a dominant win over the New York Giants, which I'm sure every Patriots fan loved for some reason. I don't remember. Maybe it's Super Bowl 42, Super Bowl 46. Hard to pick. But no, not really. I'd go with the one that were undefeated. But yeah, they beat the Giants 33-15 with Jackson Dart, so that is impressive. Although, are they better with Dart or Jameis? Long-term Dart, but Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston. But we're not talking about the Giants, we're talking about the Patriots. The Patriots have been probably the most impressive team this year. They're coming off a season where they were, I think they were supposed to be the 1 seed before they beat the Bills in the last week of the year, and then they dropped a little bit. So they fired their first-year head coach, Gerard Mayo, who apparently the culture wasn't very good and the team didn't perform well, so it's understandable. And he also did have a tough act to follow in Bill Belichick. And they hired their old guy in Mike Vrabel, who I don't know why the Titans even fired him. But yeah, Vrabel has just turned that team around. Drake May has blossomed into a great quarterback who is in the MVP conversation. And you know you're good when your nickname is just your name. Drake May. It doesn't make sense. It's a very Gen Z thing to kind of make up, but whatever. Their wins this year include the Bills and the Buccaneers, and really their only stain on this season is that they lost the Raiders in week 1, who early in the year it wasn't a big deal. No one thought the Patriots were going to be great. They thought maybe they would improve. You'd see Drake May take some steps. People thought the Raiders could be good this year with Genty and Geno with Pete Carroll as their head coach, but the opposite has happened. And like I said earlier, the sky is full of darkness and the empire has returned. Who would have thought we would maybe miss the Chiefs empire? Yeah, the second the Chiefs go down, the Patriots rise back. Crazy. And now that the Patriots are good, the refs stop favoring the Chiefs. I wonder who they're going to start favoring soon. But yeah, the Patriots' next game, like I said earlier, is at home against the Bills, and a win that will pretty much solidify them as the NFC East champions for the 2025 season. And yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tight race between them and Denver, but they are on pace to be the 1 seed in the AFC, and they are a contender for the Super Bowl this year, which I wouldn't think I said. Granted, right? Who would have thought the Patriots and the Bears would be the 1 seeds this year? This is insane. This season is just drunk. I don't know what's going on. Maybe this is a dream. Maybe this is just a drug-induced hallucination. I don't know. Equally impossible. Maybe they're trying to make it so that it doesn't look scripted, but I don't know. But at the end of the day, Patriots number 1. Okay, recap. Number 1, Patriots. 2, Rams. 3, Broncos. 4, Seahawks. 5, Bears. 6, Eagles. 7, Packers. 8, Colts. 9, Bills. And 10, the team who will be number 1 by the end of the season, the Detroit Lions. Thank you for listening to my NFL Power Rankings. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, comment if you like my list, or if you didn't like my list, maybe tell me what you think should happen. But regardless, please, I hope if you like this, please come back for more. I can tell you already that my next episode will be somewhat of a tribute to the then retired John Cena after his last match. Unfortunately, this may be my last episode for a while, as this next week is prep week for me, and then it's finals, and then I go home where this studio is not, so I may not be able to make another video until after Christmas break, but it is what it is. So I've enjoyed this first semester of college where I've weaved in a couple of these videos. This one has a bit of a hard act to follow after my interview with my good friend McKenna Maupin. And I think that's it. Well, I hope you have a great day. This is Blake Helms signing off.